Hello, everybody. Welcome to Quantum Witch Cafe, your safe space to talk about anything fringe, paranormal, books, basically anything I want to talk about. So tonight I have Vince Kelien on. He is an urban investigator, and I've literally trying to be getting. I can't talk. I've literally been trying to get him on since what, 2 years now? Because I took a tour of Waverly Hills and was like, oh my gosh, like this is the coolest thing ever. So he was the guide that night. It was like a haunted tour.
It was a public overnight investigation.
That was the second time I went. The first time it was just like the haunted tour or the what I don't know what you guys called it. But the second time it was. So I asked him every time, and then he said yes, and he stood me up 2 times, and then finally,
I did not stand anything.
you said yes to me 2 times, and then you said no after you said yes. Hi, Brandon. Brandon's out here. Do you know Brandon?
Oh no.
He's out here in Maryland.
Oh no, Brandon.
Not Brandon.
Not Brandon.
Anybody but Brandon.
In Discord, he changed his name to Vince's Simp.
No.
Yeah, so where you live in Smutville for books, I live it in Discord with him and Mallory.
Adorable. Adorable.
If that's the same Brandon, I don't know.
So we have Daddy Dom, urban investigator here. Everybody behave. Anyways, it's me. I'm the only one not behaving. So, anyways, thank you for watching Now, Later, Other Dimension, Other Planet, wherever you are. Vince, tell us who you are. What do you do? Why do you do it?
My name is Vince Kelien. I am an urbexer and a paranormal investigator. And just so you don't get that mixed up, like what you said earlier, he's an urban investigator. I'm a paranormal investigator and an urban explorer. There's a difference between the two. I just mixed up the names to give. You don't want to put your name on a T-shirt, kind of thing. And I've seen other people do that, and it's really like, I'm not gonna out the person who started that trend, but anyway, I've worked on and off at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium since 2010. And before working at Waverly, I didn't really believe in ghosts, cryptids, UFOs. I really just still don't believe in cryptids. It's just funny to talk about like Bigfoot and skinwalkers and night crawlers and all that kind of stuff. It's just really funny to imagine. But I saw right when Facebook hit. So Facebook started with college kids only. No adults, no kids. It was just strictly college. I think you even had to have like a verified college ID in order to get on Facebook. So right when they changed up their demographic and their algorithm where everyone could join, I saw a ad on Facebook for a haunt acting position at Waverly, and I jumped on it as quickly as I could. I had already been researching Waverly for a long time. I knew about the building. I had stuck up there once or twice and was heavily excited about the opportunity, not just to become a haunt actor, but just to be a part of it in any way possible I could. So I went up there for this haunted house, for this haunters tryout, basically is what it was. And they had you do a bunch of different stuff. Could you jump? Could you run? Could you scream? Could you do a clown laugh? Could you make a ghostly apparition noise type thing? There's a whole bunch of stuff. Could you be a zombie? Whatever. And I'm also just so we're making things clear and aware, I'm not downing haunt actors at all, because I was one. Some of the coolest and nuttiest people you've ever met in your life. So I used that opportunity to talk to the owner while I was there and say, hey, look, I live like 5 minutes down the road at the time. I could be here every day, beyond the haunted house. And it just kind of took off from there. And so my first day working at Waverly, I was helping putting the haunted house together. on the first floor. They do like a maze to get through the building, going from room to room and this sort of thing. We put up panel walls in the hallway, stuff like that. And we get out to see, I didn't even realize. Oh, it's not the same Brandon. See, look, I wasn't even looking in the comments. I was looking in private chat. Hi, everybody. I'm slow. Anyway, um, but anyway, so yeah, we had a whole bunch of different things to do for the haunted house. I was putting up some panel walls and stuff like that. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm hot and sweaty. It's gross outside. It's like midday in August.
It's gross around that time of year.
It's disgusting. So I'm like on the first floor, shirt off, sweating my nuts off. It's awful. I pack up all my stuff. I start heading down the hallway. I get down to what we call the glass stairwell or the glass staircase, whatever, and go outside, set the alarm. I walk out to the back, pop the trunk. I start to go put my tools in, and I hear what sounds like a ball hitting concrete. So I turn around, I look up at the building, I see a red dodgeball come out of the fourth floor solarium and bounce down into the neighborhood. I left my shit in the parking lot and trunk wide open, sped down the hill. I get down there, I open up the gate. I actually hit the hood of my car with the gate, getting it open, and then pull it open all the way. I turn around because I hear laughing, and that red dodgeball is coming down the driveway. So the ball had already went down into the neighborhood. So it would have had to bounce back up. It would have had to bounce back up onto the into the parking lot and go back down. I called the owner, and I called Tina. I was like, hey, if you can grab my tools out of the parking lot, gate's wide open for you when you get back. I'll let you know what happened in the morning. So I get back up there. She tells me that it sounds like I was initiated and asked me basically if I was going to be a bitch and leave, or if I was going to stay and, do what was necessary. And
So you heard a laugh too?
Yeah.
Like a creepy kid laugh, or like
a little girl laughing.
Ooh, those are the worst laughs to hear without bodies.
Yeah. I'm August 26th. How dare you? I don't know what that means.
You're a sticky month birther. I don't even know.
You are definitely, for sure. But yeah, so that's kind of what got me started, and off and on since 2010. I left Waverly about 2 years ago, I guess, and started going to other places and filming them and putting them online for everybody to see. And it just kind of went from there. And ever since then, I've hit, I think it's a little over 400 locations in the last 2 years.
That's a lot of places.
Yeah.
So did you have any experiences like early on, or was the ball experience your first?
Well,
like, why are you spooky? Like, what happened?
So something that made me not believe in anything was when I was a kid, I was running up and down my hallway. I was home alone or whatever, and I ran to the back room, did like a front flip on the bed, just doing kid shit. And I turn around and I look in the corner and I see what looks like a little girl hiked over like hunkered down over in the corner. And I turned around because it scared the shit out of me. And then when I turned back around, she was gone. As an adult, when you have an experience like that, you chalk it up to imagination and imaginary friends and things like that. And whenever I became an adult, I didn't look at it that way, the way people would normally look at it. After experiencing Waverly and everything else, and then I kind of started to think about the situation. I was like, maybe I wasn't so far off to know that would have been somebody instead of my imagination. Ended up doing some history on the house. I won't say the house, but when I lived there, it was owned by two other people before. Built in, I think it was 1910. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, something along the lines of a girl dying from tuberculosis. Daughter of the household, I guess, mom and dad, and daughter was the only ones that lived there at the time. And there was some trauma mixed into. Dad was a mean drunk kind of situation, and the house has now been torn down. But the description for the girl, there's actually a picture of her online, and it was the same girl. It just kind of validated what I had saw whenever I got older. But yeah.
That's wild. So Waverly was your first like haunted location that you worked at.
Yes.
How did
Well, to be fair, it's the only haunted location I've ever worked at. But
okay.
I've been to plenty of other places, but that's the only haunted location I've worked for.
So what did you learn? Like you did a lot of tours, you spent a lot of time there. What did you learn about, what is represented on television versus what it's actually like to be in a haunted location? Because there's a lot of, like if you've been on a set, there's a lot of like coaching that happens to people, like do this, do that again, come through the door, through again, so especially like some of the places you've been to have these like ghost or these spirit, they're almost like spirit celebrities that people want to encounter. So did you learn anything from actually being there versus what people kind of like come in just automatically expecting?
I think everyone goes into a haunted location just from working at Waverly in general. People walk into Waverly and expect to see everything. They've seen Ghost Adventures, they've seen Ghost Hunters, they've seen Project or Destination Fear at the time, and a whole bunch of others, and they expect all of it all at once the whole time, and it's not the case. It never is. I think the only show that actually did Waverly justice was Ghost Hunters and Destination Fear. And the reason I say Destination Fear, there's nothing happened like at all during that entire thing. What they didn't know is that the one thing that did happen was actually a bat. Like, cause we slowed it down when they did get evidence or whatever. It was like, oh, it's a bat. That's normal. But Ghost Hunters and Destination Fear is the only TV personality I think that has done Waverly justice. Now, Ghost Brothers was cool, but they didn't get a whole lot. But not that you're going to every single time, but it was kind of Ghost Brothers is more, I think, more fun than it is serious, and that's okay too. I don't have a problem with that. There's no issues with that. I actually love those guys to death. I think they're great. But there was something to be serious and caring and kind-hearted. Bitney, hello. And there's something about being kind. So Bitney, my buddy Brittany, will know what I'm talking about when I say this. I got a group called Seeking Spirits. I'm not in that group, but it's just a couple buddies of mine. Their slogan is be kind to ghosts.
I like that.
Which is kind of the step that I always try to take and that other people try to take as well. And I think it's a genuine way to really step aside from everybody else. I saw that Bob was talking about demons and demonic stuff and how easy it is to throw that name and that word out. And I think that, we've all seen videos, right? We've seen closed cases and stuff that was stuff that's unreal. We watch The Conjuring house and that's what we expect to go. That's we see the Conjuring movies and that's what we expect to see when we go, right? We expect to get levitated and thrown on the ground and all this other kind of extra shit, and that's just not the case 90% of the time. Sometimes it's hours upon hours sitting in one room, and just listening and being quiet. And sometimes it gets boring. I have such high metabolism that it pisses me off. I have to get up and go. Like, especially if it's a bigger building, I have to separate myself from other people. It's no offense to them, but I can't take it anymore. And it's from show to reality, it's just not what people seem. We'll just take Waverly for example. I've been in the building and heard nothing at all. Being in the building 8 hours, nothing. Go back in the next day and have drywall thrown at me where there's no drywall in the building. It doesn't, but none of this stuff really makes sense to us because we don't know exactly how it works. Nobody actually knows how it works. If there's anyone who will tell you that they're a professional or that they know how it works or that ghosts do certain things, you might as well take it with a grain of salt because nobody actually knows how this works. Ghost hunting is a lot like religion. It's all faith driven. If you see a shadow and you can't debunk it, you're probably going to think it's a ghost, I guess, but you don't know that for sure. There's just so much wrapped up into different ideologies. May not be ghosts at all. It may be people in a different time that's earlier than you that is going home and being like, honey, I was at work today and I saw a door open and we heard noises coming from down the hallway and everybody was in their rooms. Nobody was around and it was nap time or, whatever. It could just be a time loop or a time lapse or something like that. From TV to reality, there might be something that puts a pep in your step, but 9 times out of 10, I can tell you a lot of the times, some of these places aren't haunted at all. Some of them have residual energy, which I don't really consider haunting. I think that's more of an energy driven field. And I know that's more your side of things, but, so I don't really consider that like a haunting, it's one of those you got to see to believe it type of things. But, no, I've never been scratched. And I will tell you that 90% of the time, whenever someone does get scratched, it's that they had scratched that area 5 minutes prior, maybe feeling like there was a bug or something on them.
Weird.
They've scratched their side or something. And then they'll be like, my side's on fire, not realizing that they already did it. And then here comes the camera. Oh my God, you got scratched. No, you scratched yourself. You scratched yourself, honey. It's not, and I've seen it happen. I've literally seen the time loop and how it does happen is that somebody will smack the back of their neck and go like that, not realizing that, the amount of force they're putting behind their fingernails is actually leaving
there's
a mark.
To do it. You're not really thinking or like, right. We're always touching ourselves without realizing it.
And then literally 5 minutes later, that person is complaining about their neck being on fire. And you're just like, well, I just saw you, you had a bug or whatever. And, what happens? Do you scratch with all 5? No, you scratch with like 3 or 4, right? And everyone freaks out over the 3 scratches because they think that's the mark of the beast when that's just you scratching yourself. I won't dog Zach Bagans because none of us would be where we were if it wasn't for him making it such a popular hobby. But I will say that, some of the stuff I think is a little overdone. I don't believe, and I'll tell you this too. I'm not a religious person. I don't believe that demons have time for us. We aren't nobody. They ain't got time to mess with us. And if they do actually get a kick out of it, they're messing with other people. They're not messing with us. It's not something that isn't, it's not a normality in the paranormal field at all. And I know that a lot of people will say that it might be, but it's really not. I've been doing this for well over a decade, never came across a demon. Mace Windu. I'm a Star Wars fan too. Look at Mormons, my friend. Well, I mean, you play with fire, you get burned.
Yes.
You play with fire and you get burned. You go to a location, right? Let's say there's one that's been, excuse me, there's one on fire right now. The Monroe House in Indiana. That one's under hot fire right now because of all the demon talk coming out of that coming out of that house. There's no demons at Monroe House. But because it was dubbed the Monroe Demon House, videos still continue to circle out of there claiming to have demons. I've been there twice. There's, and I realize that you need a lot more than just a night to investigate, but both times I didn't encounter the thing that you encountered every single time. And you've been there 15, 20 times because you do whatever kind of investigation. I just don't think it's that easy. So for a TV show to claim demonic energy or claim that they're getting scratched or that they're whatever, is just way over everyone's head, and it's entertainment, and I get that. But there's two different layers to this, and I'm right dead center in the middle of it, right? So I grew up with technology advancing at a rapid pace. So I was there for the rotary phone. I was there for the cell phone, the backpack. I was there for the Nokia indestructible, whatever you want to call it, and going into the Razor Motorola and into the iPhone and blah, 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 blah. So me being on social media all the time, I'm hip to the new trends and I see all the new language. I hear it from my son every day. So I'm on the side of both. So I understand the young crowd with the demon talk. And I also understand the older crowd, which is more kind of my pace, but like, I'm still like, you guys complain over nothing, relax kind of thing. For the older generation to get upset, no, I don't think that you should spout off the word demon at every location, but I also don't think it's that big of a deal for the older generation to get so upset. Yeah. So there's two different sides to both, arguments, but, leave the kids alone and let them do whatever they're going to do. The older generation, if you're mad that you didn't get anywhere with it, just say that. Because this generation over here has figured out a way to go past TV and hit a whole nother kind of fandom than anyone on TV has ever seen in their life. TikTok, YouTube, things like that, put people in a different category. And there's a lot of people that, were either on TV or didn't get anywhere with ghost hunting, and it pisses them off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack there between different investigation styles throughout the year. I'm sure. So there, I remember when you were the tour guide, you were really adamant on respect to the spirits that were there. I tell people the same thing. Like I tell them when I did the overnight investigation, like, oh my gosh, did you go to this floor or that floor or just anything? I was like, well, I'm a witch, so I saw some stuff, but I don't really know. It was so dark, right? So, right. But to me, what I did feel there, it was just like you said, it was residual energy, or it was like a time loop, right? Like people are just kind of like going on about their business, and because it looks shadowy to people, they want to assume it's demonic or something. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that are afraid just because it's not familiar.
Sure.
Especially like with the ball and the disembodied laugh situation. Mm-hmm. Definitely scary, right? Yep. So, I mean, something like yanked my hair when I was at Waverly. I thought it was my husband. I turned around to like hit him and nobody was there. And I was like, He was like looking at something else like down the hallway, and I was like, okay, well, my hair got pulled.
Right.
But it was like it wasn't like vicious. It was like a little like
You know what that remind? You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of like when you see the memes and stuff online where or it's mainly TikTok, I think, where it's a picture of a girl and she goes, I know my husband's out cheating on me right now, and then it shows a picture of him like doing something incredibly stupid.
normal.
Just
Yep,
really
like,
something stupid. That's what that reminds me of. That's perfect. You should do a video like that with him. It'd be funny.
he won't get on camera. There's like a joke that people say like only like a handful of people have seen my husband.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's real, I swear, guys.
I mean, he doesn't talk. At least he didn't talk. Well, I mean, he said hi and bye and shook my hand, but that was about it.
Yeah. He will not get on, because I've tried to like catch him in like the little like, like when you try to get like a reaction like out of your husband things, it doesn't work on him. He just like takes the phone. Like, no fun. Okay, so you talked about a bunch of different types of like energies and things that people might encounter.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the is there a difference between residual energy and like a loop, like a ghost doing the same thing or a spirit doing the same thing over and over again? Like every day I see this guy going over to that corner and he disappears. Like I have one in this house right here, and I always see her going up the stairs.
Okay.
And that's it, like
there's you can't answer that. It's one of those things that we don't know, right? So maybe the woman that you're seeing going up the stairs, maybe she died right after that, and that was the last remaining memory, and so she loops that every day. That could be the case, or it could be your eyes playing tricks on you because you want it to happen so bad, or it could be that there's a ghost wanting you to follow it up the stairs, or it's not happening at all. So I mean, it's hard to answer that question, but I will say that my own theory, something that I think does happen, is that when you see those residual like time loops, where because there was one at Waverly that I would see every day at 2:00, and it was a what looked like a doctor in a lab coat that was walking up the staircase right before getting up to the 5th floor. And I would see it every single day. Maybe he died right after that. We obviously we don't know who that guy is, but I think that my own personal opinion on time loops is that person had passed right at that ending. Because if you go back in like Greek mythology, you can read up on different articles where they say that your eyes replay the last few, or stays vital for the last 5 minutes even after decapitation. So maybe it's replaying, maybe in his own realm he's replaying those steps over and over and over again every single day. So maybe that doctor or whoever that guy was, maybe he fell to tuberculosis, maybe he fell off the roof, maybe maybe there's a million and one different things it could be. But that's my own opinion. I think that time loops like that, if you see it enough towards the same exact thing, same time, stuff like that, I think that is because they have met their demise right after that action took place.
That's interesting. I've never heard that before. And it definitely makes sense. So you've been to a lot of places. You said how many places the past year or so?
Just a little over 400 in the last 2 years.
What is the most compelling like encounter or piece of evidence that you were able to gather? And what is like your top 3 things that you need when you go on an investigation? Like your favorite things to bring with you?
So my one piece of evidence, because that's all I've ever gotten. And that's, it is what it is. I haven't caught anything on camera. I've had plenty of personal experiences, but I don't the one piece of evidence that I did catch got squandered by audio issues. I was at Madison Seminary. Val and I were down in the basement, and we were coming out of what they call the hole. They call it the hole because it's a big giant hole in the back room of the basement. Whatever, it has there's a bunch of dirt. They've actually put a railing around it so people won't fall in it. But they believe that there's a woman buried underneath that concrete. So they've had like canines and stuff in there trying to figure it out and trying to find out where the person was buried. But coming out of there, we heard a growl in real time. It was loud, it was audible, it was very like in your face. I was using a new camera that night and didn't realize that my entire audio was squandered.
No.
Yeah. I say my most crazy experience would be at Pennhurst. I was walking from the Mayflower building to the Devon building. I get out in front of I was getting out in front of the Devon building at the side door or whatever, and I started to walk in. It was still daylight, and I heard a voice say "get out," like the typical "get out," whatever. And I saw a full-bodied apparition walk across the doorway, like right in front of me, like this. I could see the shirt, I could see the pants, I could see down to the leather shoes, the leather brown shoes, the hairstyle, which was like a weird curly, like James Dean kind of thing, and a white button up. I don't think I've really been scared except for my first time, having that experience at Waverly until Pennhurst.
Wow. So you've been a lot. That just goes to show like people have to be patient with this, and you said that already.
Yeah.
Even if you live like in a haunted house, like things aren't going to happen every day. In Alaska, I was like in a weird haunted situation, and it was like getting physical. Like it was a duplex, and we were having like physical touching from this pervy ghost.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know. I didn't believe her initially, and then because the gentleman like unalived himself there, and so I'm like, okay, thanks for the welcome story. We're just moving in, and she had mentioned that she was by like her washer dryer was in the garage, and she said that she felt like somebody had like caressed like her lower back and thought it was her husband, and nobody was there. And I was like, okay, it's been like a weird wind, whatever, right? Well, her and her husband had gotten in a heated argument, and he gets slammed against something. And I'm still like, okay, well, nothing's happened to me. So I have like weird dreams. I've always had like sleep paralysis and weirdness happening. I lived, like haunted houses,
Sure.
But I had like a really crazy experience that I can't even say online because it was that like, I was like, bro. Because I thought it was everybody always thinks it's their husband.
Oh.
Yeah. I thought he was trying to like get frisky, and I wake up and I'm awake when this is happening, but I'm like, it's early in the morning, and I was like, no, and I like did this thing. I'm like, nobody's there.
So you were the girl from Scary Movie too. All
Pretty much. But yeah, so that place was pretty creepy for a little bit. But we didn't all the time. So yeah, that I didn't. Yes, I've lived a few places. Luckily the one here, she's like an older woman. Just
okay.
Sometimes like kind of in and out. And I did the whole Estes method, like with my husband. And he's like not a believer at all. Like he's just like, no. Like he thinks there's things out there, but when we played the recording back, it was like he's like, wait, what? Because it's almost like every time she forgets that she is like dead. So every time I've done something like that, it's been like oh wait, like what? Like why are you here? And oh, I'm dead. And it's not a good. It's very traumatic to her. So I don't. do it anymore. You know what I mean?
Sure.
2 times I tried to talk to her, and it was both like, "Wait, what are you doing here?" basically, and, "Oh shit, I'm dead." Like, and that's not a good thing to remind a spirit,
Well,
especially if they're
sure.
like in and out of like wherever they are and wherever we are.
Well, especially if they don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't want to keep like doing that to people. And I often wonder at these locations, are these spirits sick of people like trying to poke at them and like talk to them?
Sure.
And because they're people that are stuck here. In
One
most
of the one questions I try to stay away from while doing Estes is, do you know you're dead? Because I hear a lot of people doing that. And because we don't know that they're dead, because they could be in 1924 experiencing phantom related issues at their place of work right now, and we're in a different time zone, or we're in a different time. It could not be ghosts at all. It could be time messing with another dimension.
Yeah, that's another thing to think about that a lot of people don't like talking about.
Could
I
you
mean,
imagine? Could you imagine sitting at your place of work and just hearing a voice go, "Do you know you're dead?" And I'm just like,
wait, what?
"What do you?"
They're like, finally. I'm just kidding.
It's like, was that Forrest Whitaker? Who is
I'm
talking?
sure I am. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't. I just wish we could talk to them in a more like recordable. Everybody does, but because that's the whole point of it, right? You go out there, you try to make contact. I mean, sorry, I'm
Sure.
still on alien talk. You try
Oh
to
yeah, that's fine.
communicate with them. So how does your paranormal investigation tie into urban exploring? Have you always done urban exploring, or is this like a newer thing?
No, I mean it did start pretty early on, upon doing that. But my I want to say what it was is that getting into ghost hunting is expensive, and trying to get into locations to film is expensive and things like that. So I started looking at other ways to be able to do what I loved doing, and that was one of the ways, was to find abandoned buildings, hospitals and asylums and things of that nature, to kind of keep it up when I was broke, because we're all broke in this economy. There's not a single person on this planet right now, unless you're a celebrity or in the government, that isn't broke. You've got some bill stacked sideways that or something. You've got something that's weighing down on you. So to try to prevent that, or to try to get around that, sometimes I would go look at abandoned buildings and go research and look them up and things like that, and it kind of became a sort of a passion, because there's a lot of these buildings that aren't getting the respect, the love, and everything that they deserve. There's a building right now. I think I posted a educational walkthrough kind of voiceover video earlier. The Kentucky Baptist Hospital right here downtown Louisville, um, is in the middle of demolition right now over nothing, because they want to put up apartments in a parking lot.
I don't like that because I think that there's a lot to older buildings that we can't recreate.
Hmm.
I see a lot of it out here on the East Coast where like, and even when I was in Kentucky, just the way things were built, like you can reuse that structure.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes you can't. Like, there's a building down here, and that you would probably like is like downtown Baltimore. It's been there and it's been abandoned so long that it has a tree growing in
Oh
it
yeah,
and out of it.
I see that happen all the time. It's funny. You're
Same thing
walking
with
down the hall, you're walking down the hallway, and you're like, "Oh, a tree." That's wild.
it's crazy to think about. So, what sort of protocol do you follow when you do that? You just kind of like go do it. Do you bring a friend? Because I mean, like
Uh,
I'd be afraid to do it because
yeah,
I'm also a 5 foot girl, but like, you know,
I I hear that a lot. Uh, no real protocols. Yes, I'll take people, or I'll go with people. AJ is a buddy of mine. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's a ramp up photography. And normally it's me and AJ Taylor will jump along. Sometimes that's Taylor Ray on TikTok, and then Val will go with us as well. That's Acrogeist everywhere. But a lot of the times they can't go nowhere. They got to work or, whatever, or I don't have to work when they got to work, whatever the case. And, yeah, so I mean, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's all of us. And, I don't have any real protocol. Here's my thing is that it doesn't scare me. There's been one place that has scared me for urbexing. I'll take that back to two places. So there was one time where I was hard up for content in the beginning, and I felt I thought I had to post every week on YouTube, and I was gonna be that guy. And I found this road in Alabama that I think I called it the Lonely Road of Alabama or something. And it's just a whole bunch of abandoned houses. Long story short, I did 4 houses, and the last house had somebody in it. And how I didn't see the person, what I heard when I opened up the door was banjo music.
What the?
Yeah.
In Kentucky?
No, Alabama.
No? Alabama. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Even better.
Yeah.
You're like, kills have eyes.
Dude, I turned around so quick. I threw my phone and my gimbal and everything in the car. I raced out there as quick as I could. The second one was recently, was Hudson River State Hospital. Everyone calls it Hirsch, HRSH. But the blueprints were made after Danvers State Hospital and Buffalo State Asylum. They're all asylums, but they call them hospitals because they took in regular cases too. But this giant, like, I don't even know how to describe it. This place is huge. It's scary. The from the ceiling all the way down to the ground, everything's gone. It's all like caved in all the way down to the ground. In certain points you could look up, there's no roof, and you're like, oh shit. That one scared me half to death over the fact that you didn't know if you're going to fall through a floor. Excuse me. You didn't know if you're going to fall through the floor. You didn't know if you were going to get hit by security, because security at Hudson is hardcore. You don't know if you're going to run into other explorers, other people, construction workers. It's terrifying.
I just feel like a wild parkour guy, just like.
It was funny. So me and my buddy Drew went to Hudson together with his mom. She goes everywhere with Drew. But we leave, right? Like we're done. We've done everything. We run into a couple of explorers that are about ready to go in after us, and I always try to take a key plate with me as a memento. That's so like the skeleton key cover holes,
Oh, yeah.
So that's my memoriam from these buildings. And so we were going back to go get that. And we get back over there, and we go to the places that we know where we see the key plates and stuff. And we can hear the guys from the other side of the campus. Like, they're loud. They're not being quiet. They're being loud as shit. You can hear everything they're doing. And they start to get closer, and then they just go real quiet. And we're like, okay, whatever. So then we hear a voice come from behind us, and the guy, it was a security guard, but we didn't know it at the time. And what he says is what triggers everything. It scares the shit out of us. Is he says, "Do you want to fucking die?" And he yells it as loud as he can.
Oh my God.
So what had happened is they were being loud as shit, and he was chasing them all around the campus. trying to figure out who was making all that fucking noise. And he came up on us because they ducked when they got to us. So we got caught over what they were doing. But
That's so funny.
we turn around and we're like, no. And he go, I can't remember what he said. He said, we don't need any more deaths on this property, which was bullshit. There hadn't been nobody dying at that property since the building was fucking in operation. So the guy was full of shit. But he was nice after he threatened us with, murder. Everything was fine or whatever. I actually went back a couple days later and talked to the foreman that was doing all the construction there, and to tell him that there was a couple things while I was literally telling on myself that I had been there previously. And telling him that I couldn't help myself, but there was stuff inside the building that was in the demolished area that I wanted, and that I wanted to, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, I could take these things home and restore them. And then, it's just sitting in my living room, but it makes me happy. And he was like,
oh, well, that's right. You have that cool living room thing, all that weird, fun stuff.
Yeah. So he was like, oh, well, what did you see? What did you want? I was like, there's this window pane that still has all the glass in it. And it was really pretty, very, very, extremely, like, I don't even know how to put it. Just very heavy and very intricate and very ornate. It was very pretty. It wasn't a typical window. You get 4 panels.
Yeah,
it was not like that.
Yeah, old windows. There's like more to them.
Yeah, so it's extremely heavy, made of like steel or something, and it should have been a stained glass window, is what it looked like, but it was regular.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is really pretty, and he was like, where'd you say you see it at? And I told him or whatever. He was like, I'll go pick it up. He was like, I'll put it in the truck and I'll bring it up here or whatever. He was like, we've got over like 500 of them. It's fine. And I was like, really? And he was like, are you looking for anything else? And I told him a couple different things or whatever. He calls me a week and a half later. I'm already gone. Like, I've got a buddy going to go pick this shit up for me because, I'm not there. This man went through and picked up he got me that window. He took a picture. I'm not showing anybody, but he took a picture, and I've already actually lost it, but he said that he picked up a window. He picked up a mortuary table that was made of wood that the Historical Society did not want. And an old wheelchair that is intact. So when I go back up to New York, gotta go pick all that stuff up. But big history buff, really crazy for how things were built back in the day, because they're so much better than the cookie cutter shit that we have now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you go, there's a guy named Jeremy Explorers. He's out of Nashville, and he's hit every single bando that there is to hit in Tennessee. Obviously, it's his stomping ground, so he's hit them all. And he always talks about the neighborhoods being cookie cutter. And there was one bando that I got of a place that he went to that I was really fascinated with. It was an old antebellum outside of Nashville. And so I went to go check it out, and the neighborhood right next to it, there isn't a single house that is not the same.
Yeah, I'm from Arizona. Like, a lot of them are, it's all like, you could literally like jump through the wall if you wanted to. They're just so poorly built.
Yep. They're all the same. They all look the same. One of those houses is nice, but not 200 of them.
Yeah. I get like, my boys are always like, this house is old. I'm like, it is. It's 100 years old, and it's got stained glass windows, and it's got like real wood floors, like the floors, walnut in the floors. Like, I'm gonna be so sad to leave this house, And they're like, yeah, because they go to like these other places. They're like, oh, like they go to Arizona to like visit family. Like, Uncle Corey's house is brand new. I'm like, yeah, but like, there's not houses like this out there.
Yeah.
Like I love old buildings and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I totally feel that. So now you have a window. You have an old mortuary table. Where are you gonna put all this?
No fucking idea.
You just like you decorated your living room with some of it, right?
Yeah, I have not with the stuff that I got, so that I have to go back to New York to go pick all that up. But what I have in my living room at the moment is a coffin from 1830s, 1850s, with a church truck. All of this came from a funeral home down the street. I have a wheelchair that was from Waverly. It was one of the old relaxing wheelchairs. They would cut the metal base off and put a regular wicker chair on top and strap it down. It's one of those.
Yeah.
But
he's talking about UFO stuff. This is one of the UFO guys.
Oh, gotcha.
For UFO stuff, and Bob always livens up the chat. So.
Oh, I gotcha. I was like, CIA. What are we talking about?
No, we know who you are, Vince.
Right. If it wasn't already public enough.
Yeah, Mr. Google.
Mr. What?
Mr. Google.
Whatever, dude. That was so cool to wake up to. I was just like, holy shit. Now to be fair, I was trying to trigger that. Like I was trying to trigger Google to, pop it up, and eventually they did. No, Bob, you're good, man. I was like, what is he talking about? The CIA.
Fine, Bob. No, I just like to have like the clashing of UFO people, book people, and paranormal people because
we could talk UFOs if you want. I don't have no problem with that.
You
have multiple personalities. That's scary.
It's not scary. It's fun.
Just with me.
For me, it's fun for me. Nobody else.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your cons, conventions. When did you start doing those, and what exactly do you do when you're there?
So, for the conventions, I will bring what I call haunted resin molds, and what those are just regular molds, but they have debris from haunted locations inside. That is my selling point while I'm there. It's just an extra thing. Oh, I can make money. Here you go. But the reason I'm at the conventions is to give people my card and my stickers. And if somebody comes up that knows me and wants to buy something, that's great. If they want a shirt or something like that. It's a fun way to be a part of the community, in general. Oh, sorry. I was looking up stuff for you for like the convention stuff, and I just came across something. And I was seeing this while I was at Waverly last time. They have finished the entire front side of the building, and every single one of the windows have windows.
Oh,
there's not a single area missing.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a big job, dude. A big job. Wow. So I didn't mean to take away from the show or anything, but holy shit.
You are the show. You're on here.
But yeah, so I'm there to promote social media and stuff like that. I'm not there for, I'm not a crystal person. I'm not I'm not selling equipment or anything like that. I'm not that talented. But yeah, so while I'm there, I'll take some oddities and the resin molds and stuff like that with me. But it's to promote social media and stuff like that. So I think the next couple places I have coming up is Pennhurst Asylum. That's at Ohio State Reformatory. The Bell Mansion, I think it's called Ghostorama. That one's with Keith Age. Got that one coming up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And then I have a public overnight investigation at Ashmore Estates. That is my own. event that I'm putting on, and there will be more to come after.
Very cool. That was my next question. Like, what is your whole vision for, your urban investigator? I guess would you call it a business or would you just call it,
I think it eventually just turns into a business, not on purpose, but just if you want to do your own like public ghost hunts and stuff like that, you have to I mean you kind of got to have a business for that.
Yeah, sure.
It just depends, but yeah.
Okay, so you have some fun stuff coming up, and then you intend on like hosting more type of public investigations?
Oh, sure. I stay busy throughout the year as far as like other locations and stuff like that. We got a couple different ones coming up that I will not talk about because it's a secret.
Oh.
But yeah, so there's we have one coming up that's just like a buddy kind of thing. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I've been there once for a private or for a public, but we're doing a private, I guess. I've got Waverly like 4 or 5 times this year just because home.
Yeah, you gotta like go back home.
Yeah. I have a Massachusetts trip coming up. A buddy of mine named Shannon. Me, her son, and a couple others, Drew and Sonia and Agnes, a couple other people are going to hit all those places up. Plan on going to Salem this year. Plan on going to Savannah, Georgia. There's so much on the table this year that I can't even begin to start writing shit down. So,
wow, that's a lot coming up for you, but that's very exciting because you're doing what you love, and and it seems like people like your style of videography and the pictures you take and the places you go. So that's important. Because you don't seem like, listening to your videos on TikTok, and even if I had never met you otherwise, like, it's just you're not cocky about what you're doing. So I think that's really important.
I try not to be.
It took me so long to get somebody to come on. Brandon at the beginnings out here in Baltimore, like, I automatically started stalking him. I'm like, I'm in Baltimore. You do paranormal investigating. Like, you need to come on the show. So I had him and his team on, and then I had Charm City on, which those dudes are super cool.
Mike and David.
Yeah, they're so nice. They were like at a haunted. They were doing an investigation the night of the show.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So they were like in a super spooky place, and you just see their eyes because they were like starting to get activity.
They'd be talking to you and be like,
yeah, exactly. They're just like, they'd like look at each other. I'm like, oh, it's getting late. You guys probably should, go work, I guess.
Right.
So you have those 2 things coming up. I put your link tree in the description.
Thank you so
people
much.
can find everything. I have your bio in there. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to talk about? I'm not trying to keep you super long.
Honestly, I think we've covered a lot. I talked more about the stuff I do instead of Waverly this time, so that was interesting. I don't get to do that a lot on podcasts, so.
Well, I figured, you were there so long, that's kind of like where people like know you initially. But yeah. I also follow you on TikTok and Instagram, so I know that you do other things besides Waverly. Of course, like, sure. I've been on 1,000 questions about Waverly, but I want to make sure, like, when I have somebody on, that they get to talk about the things that they're doing now, not just kind of like
sure
break-in or whatever, so.
Yeah. There will be so Ashmore won't be the only one that only public investigation I do. There is a couple other ones on the books that I'm not ready to announce just yet. I'm going to let Ashmore finish, and then we'll announce those. But yeah, a lot of cool and new things coming up. I have signed an NDA for something that I'm excited for. Can't talk about it.
Like, it's so
cool.
I can't talk about it yet. You guys just gotta follow me. It's one of those. Right. But seriously, follow.
But yeah,
follow.
You gotta follow along for more. But yeah, so it's been a fun couple years, and I hope it lasts, and I hope it stays going. So
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to have you hang out for a minute once I end the stream. Thank you to everybody that showed up and watched this later or is listening on audio on Spotify, which I don't know when I'm going to get it on there because I'm behind. But I guess that doesn't really matter. It'll be in the future and you'll be listening to it. Have a good night, everybody. And follow Vince and this channel as well. Bye.